Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel where today we are going to compare and contrast two popular methods of accumulating and spending in retirement. One being the 401k plan and the other being privately owned life insurance. I'm Mark Tomei. I'm the founder and president of Hindsight Financial, and for over 20 years I've been helping great families like yours make important money decisions. When it comes to retirement planning, few decisions are more important than where you store your wealth. Where you store your treasure becomes more important than the rate of return you earn on your money. If you don't believe that yet, let's dive in. I'm going to take this and approach it through the view of the dollar bill, traveling through each of these plans. So kind of a point of view of the dollar bill. And I do that because when it comes to a 401k or life insurance, it's not good or it's bad. It just is. And it's important for us to understand how these things work so that we can best utilize them for our own purposes. So in the 401k, let's start here. We go to work in the morning, we trade our blood, sweat, and tears for a dollar bill. And when we contribute that dollar bill to the 401k plan, that's the first stop along the way. So a whole dollar bill has made it into the 401k. A couple things to understand here. These are payroll deductions normally, and the 401k gets big points on the easy department. When you ask people why they contribute to 401ks, this is always one of the top answers. It's easy, it's payroll deducted, it goes in and I don't have to think about it. The next thing you have to do when it's in though is you have to pick the investments. And this is where it can kind of get fun because now we have everyday folks trying to act like money managers and make important fun decisions. But what I see happen, and giggle if this is you, but I've seen the most popular method is the coworker strategy. That's where we look over the shoulder of the guy next to us and say, hey, what'd you pick for your 401k options? I see that more than I even care to tell you. And if this is you, you might want to give yourself a giggle and keep on listening. The other method is the Morningstar method. And that's where we look at each of the funds and we pick the ones that have the highest number of stars. And that's not necessarily a bad way to go, but we don't always understand what goes into earning those stars, what those stars represent, and whether or not that means it's a good fit for your 401k portfolio. The biggest thing to understand is because I've put this dollar bill in the 401k and I have the whole dollar in there, I am taking an IOU on the tax bill. See, we tend to think that the 401k has tax benefits, but what I want to make sure you understand is you're delaying the tax. It's an IOU. And then I would ask you a question. Would you rather pay your taxes on the seed or the tree and the forest? So when we put our money into the 401k, we're taking that IOU on the seed and we're rather choosing to pay our taxes in the future on the forest. Now, if you're like me and you believe that taxes are going to be higher in the future, it's going to cost more money to run the government, then you might want to take a look at how privately owned life insurance works. So let's contrast this. I go and I earn my dollar at my employer, and before I can put my money into the life insurance policy, I have to pay my taxes on it. I've heard since I was little, you have to pay your dues. And I was in the military and in the business world, and these rules apply. You have to pay your dues generally means there's something that is difficult or unpleasant or something that you don't necessarily want to do, but you have to do it to get over the hurdle to the good stuff on the other side. So in our case here, we're paying our taxes up front, we're paying our dues, and if we do it right, that's the last time this dollar bill will see any tax. So now that we have a dollar in the 401k, we have a dollar or 75 cents, call it, in the life insurance side because we paid our taxes. Now let's take a look at what does the accumulation ride looks like, because we're going to try to build this thing so that it can take care of us in the future. In 401k, that generally means those investments that we've picked go up and they go down in value. We've always been taught that you should grow your money compound. Start early, and when you get into your retirement years, you'll have millions of dollars. Well, that's going off of a compound growth type of framework or calculation. We tend to apply that in the 401k world, where instead of compound growth, it looks more like an EKG. Because its price is going up and going down. You're not necessarily compounding your money. But now that your money is in that 401k, you are going to face the volatility along the way. We all tend to think that we can do a great job managing money, but I would tell you the facts don't necessarily bear that out. The typical consumer earns typically between 2.9 and 3.2% rate of return. And that's usually a wake-up call for a lot of people, because we look at the stock market and we think, okay, long periods of time, it grows 7-8%, and we use that in our calculations without understanding, number one, you can't invest directly in the market. You try to mimic it with your investments. And as I said before, consumers don't necessarily always make the best money managers. Yes, you can have good years and bad years, but you're talking about a 30 to 40 year accumulation period to fund a 30-year period of income. Not necessarily always the easiest thing to do. And if you do need your money early out of the 401k, everybody's aware there's a 10% penalty there. So that kind of takes a little bit away from the easy of the 401k. The life insurance contract, as it's growing, the way that this works is you're paying premium in each month. And early on into the policy, and I'm talking about a properly designed whole life insurance policy from a participating mutual insurance carrier. There's very specifics to this. This is not just your average everyday go out and buy life insurance and hope retirement works. You actually have to work with somebody who builds retirement planning models and uses life insurance as a funding mechanism. But the money is in there, and we do have compound growth, but that growth is kind of set out at the beginning by the actuary. The insurance company hires an actuary, somebody who's ridiculously good at math, and their job is to make sure that the insurance company can remain profitable and pricing the product so that it meets the needs of the consumer. So they play a pretty important role. And what I would tell you here is consumers directing or investing in the market and building portfolios for retirement is a relatively new concept in the big scheme of things, whereas life insurance can go back hundreds of years, and it's a very proven business model. And one thing to know here as well, many people don't always know that the life insurance industry provides more retirement benefits than Social Security. They built this industry. So there's a reason why I like this the way that I do. So in the accumulation period, my money inside my policy is growing and guaranteed to me. I can watch my cash value growth, and all I'm doing is contributing. I don't have any money management. I don't have to pay anybody to pick any investments. I don't have to monitor my investments and rebalance my investment. I don't have to do any of that. So now the easy award is starting to drift back to the life insurance side of the equation. But that's the accumulation part. The next part is the most important part. And I'll ask you this, why do we save money? There's only one reason. There's only one reason to save money. And that's because we want to spend that money somewhere in the future. So it makes sense for us to understand what it looks like to spend from each of these accounts so that we understand what that ride's going to be like. My dollar bill that's in my 401k, when I have cleared all of the hurdles and I am now at least 59 and a half years old, and I have permission to take this money out without penalty, do you ever realize that you're going to be, depending on where you live, number 5 or number 6 in line for that dollar? I'm going to say that again. When you withdraw your money from your 401k, depending on where you live, you could be 5th or 6th in line for that dollar. You have to pay your federal government tax, your state, your local, Social Security, Medicare. And by the way, if you're paying an advisor, they get their money as first as well. So you're standing in line for that money. You're number 5 or number 6, and you have to go and sell securities to free up the money to give that to you. Well, what if the market's down? And that's generally a bad time to sell. But in the world of retirement planning, we still got to make the mortgage payment. We still got to put food on the table. So we have to withdraw from the 401k, and we have to pay all of these taxes now on the larger amount than we would have had we paid it early on. So when I'm taking this money out, because the account goes up and down in value, I'm not free to just take as much as I want anytime I want. There's actually some science to this. Because of the volatility of the account, we have to take what's called a safe withdrawal rate. And the safe withdrawal rate is simply what rate or what percentage of my account can I withdraw each month or each year over a 30-year retirement period without running out of money. That's a pretty intense game. The typical rule of thumb has always been 4%. I would tell you where today's retirees are poised to start retirement, they're not going to have the luxury of 4% because of where we are with the stock market, where we are with taxing and dividends. I don't think we get the same treatment that the average has always gotten. So that for most people, I would say 3% is a safe number to use without running out of money. And advisors out there that are optimistic about that, and many will tell their client, well, we can get you 7% or 6%. That's just not what the statistics bear out. So always be careful when an advisor is telling you they can get you so much more income than that. Because if you run out of money before you run out of retirement, there's no do-overs. When it comes to spending money out of my insurance plan, I can go to the insurance company and I can either withdraw money or I can borrow money. The economy at the time and what's going on at the time is going to bear out what is a better option for you. But you've built that cash value over your working years. Now that is collateral that you can make some of the greatest loans available anywhere to fund your retirement. These are unstructured loans. It's not a typical loan, where you have to go and request it and get approved for it and underwritten for it and all of this. You've built it. You've got the first right to that cash. If you borrow it, that is called an unstructured loan, which means there's no payment booklet. There's no due date. You pay your interest back if you choose, and you don't have to if you don't want to. The money will be earned by the life insurance company either way. They don't care if you pay off your loan. It's one of the only places in the financial world where this lines up this way, and it's why I think it's such a great choice for retirement. So you've built this huge cash value collateral pile, and you also have a very large death benefit at the end. Well, what you're doing is you are spending down your collateral, and it'll be deducted from your death benefit when you eventually pass away. So that's the reality of it, but it tends to work out, and in many cases we can see 25 to 30% more cash flow in retirement for somebody who's chose this route versus the 401k that the neighbor is using. So I think it gives you a much easier ride in the spending category. And when I take my money out of the insurance policy, there are no taxes anywhere. There's nowhere to put it on your tax return. So it's tax exempt. And what I would say is in the accumulation years, lots of people love their 401k. In the spending years, very few people love their 401k. So in the insurance world, it's a little bit flipped backwards. You got to pass a test and blood and urine and health and fitness, and you got to kind of prove all of that in order to get in. So it's kind of hard up front, but it gets much easier over time. Remember, pay your dues. So when you come to the end of your plan, when it's time for you to go, in the 401k, that money that's left over in the plan, assuming there is some, would go to your beneficiaries, and they would pay taxes on those dollars in their own tax bracket. So if you have kids that are doing well and have nice jobs and all of that, you could be adding on money that they would pay very high taxes on. So if you want to compare the rate of taxation in the hands of the beneficiary versus the tax that you could have paid all the way back when you earned the dollar, it's sometimes painful to watch. So the life insurance obviously has been designed that when you go, that money goes to your beneficiaries and it's tax-free. So kind of to wrap up for now and put a bow on this, what I would tell you is if you are trying to replace a fairly large income, you're making 60 to 60,000 or higher, and you would like to have that type of lifestyle in retirement, you really should give life insurance a look and talk to somebody who knows how to build retirement income plans for this. I'm here to help if you need help. If this was helpful for you, if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel, like and share this message, drop me a comment. Let me know if you want to see more depth on this one or what other types of comparisons you'd like to see. But I hope this was helpful for you. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Let's connect. Have a great day.